my commandments. It said, if you love me, you will keep my commandments. So whatever I say, whatever I want you to do, whatever assignment I've given you for your life, you will keep it. Because the commandment is only an assignment that God gives us. And he knows everything. He already knows the future. So if we're loving him and we're keeping his commandments, we will walk in love. If we're loving the Lord with all our heart, soul, mind, and strength. So we know that the only way that we can show God our love, it says love the Lord with all our heart, soul, mind, and strength. But the only way we can show love to God is one way. And I just read it. Is by keeping his commandments. That's the way, because God is proud. You know, God is proud when he can sit down. Well, I just ain't got to that point in being a father yet where I can tell Bree do something, she listening. You just walk off like she understands everything I'm saying.
Never get there.
You know, Bree, sit down.
You'll never get there.
Okay, well, walk off. You know? So, you see, but God is so proud when we are put in situations where we can choose to do his commandment or we can choose to disobey him. He's sitting in heaven. That's my boy. That's my boy. And I want God, that's my ultimate goal, is to have God proud of me. Because at the end of the day, that's all that matters. If I'm going to spend eternity with a God who's not proud of me, why spend eternity up there? So I want to make God proud. I want to make him happy with me. So in order to discover love, first I must get my relationship right with the Father. And then I can start to get my relation right with others. I just want to make one more point. I'm moving on. I promise you guys. I promise you guys. We're going to get to all those blanks y'all have in y'all handout. We're going to get to them. Don't worry about that, because somebody's sitting right there right now saying, he didn't even say the blank yet. Okay. Love is an Old Testament doctrine. It's been here. You know, Jesus said, love the Lord with all our heart, soul, and mind, and strength. But in Deuteronomy, they said the same thing all through the Bible. So God gives us a great example of what love is in the book of Hosea. Agape love is the example he gives us. Now, if you're not familiar with that book, God told Hosea to go and marry a prostitute. He said, go out and marry this prostitute. Now, I can imagine Hosea, the look on Hosea's face when he had to ask, sure that's you, God? A prostitute. And I think, I'm pretty sure the prostitute name was Gomer. Yeah. And so Gomer went out, cheated on Hosea, lived with another man, and then God said, go out and get her and love her. That had to be the ultimate agape, because it was nothing Gomer did to earn Hosea's love. It was nothing, and that's the example God uses to give us of how much he loves us. Because sometimes, I'm not going to talk about nobody, but I'm going to talk about Tedrick. Sometimes I let God down. I can read that Bible all day. I can be as close to God as possible, and sometimes I let him down. And there's nothing I can do to earn his love. I can obey his commandments, but I can't work hard enough in order to earn that love. But then John 3:16 stepped in the place. Wow. It said, for God so agape the world, that he gave his only begotten Son, that whosoever believeth in him shall not perish, but have everlasting life. And that was before I was born. So he did that knowing that I was going to sin. He set me up for success when he sent his Son to die for me on the cross. So God first showed us his love. Because God is love. He can't do anything else. The ability to love others is the first mark of the Christian life. It's the foundation of developing a godly character and godly strength. That's what our text tells us. It says we must walk with the Spirit. And if we walk with that spirit, we will not walk outside the will of God, because we will not walk outside the will of God because the Spirit is with us. And the Bible tells us in the book of John, say, if we're walking in the Spirit and we do what we have to do, say, God and Jesus will come and make their abode with us. So we attract God. That love and that obedience to God attracts God to us. And we work with God. But there are some steps we have to take in order to get to that place. And that's what I want to go through today. But I have a question. What does it take to love others the way the Lord loves us? Learning to love others involves discovering real love. And if you're following along your handout, that's a link. You can write that down. And if you have your Bibles with me, you can turn back to 1 Corinthians 13. So discovering real love, we have to do some things to get out our own way. If you look at that text, if you look at 1 Corinthians 13, before that verse, the chapter could have started with verse number 4. And verse number 4 goes into the definition of love. Love is patient, love is kind, love does not envy, it does not boast, it is not proud, it is not rude. It goes into that. So Paul could have started right there on the definitions of what love was, but he didn't. He had to deal with some things that was going on in the lives of the people at Corinth, at the church at Corinth. He had to deal with some things because he's writing a letter. He's not writing this letter to people in the streets. He's writing it to church people. Wow. He's writing it to church people. So the first thing he's going to deal with is pride in the lives of those people. It says, if I speak in tongues, verse number 1 of 1 Corinthians 13 says, if I speak in tongues, the tongues of men and of angels, but have not love, I am nothing but a resounding gong or a jingling cymbal. I'm going to stop right there. In those days, back when Paul wrote this letter, it was thought of that if a man got so holy and he was so filled with the Spirit that he can speak with the tongues of an angel. So he would have two languages. He would have two languages. So if he got so... Because it was thought of that the angels communicated in a different language than the people. So, when a man got so full of the Spirit and he got so close to God, he became prideful. He thought, I can speak to the angels. Most people in here can't. I'm better than everybody. But Paul said, if you don't have love, that ain't nothing. But that don't even matter nothing. And he goes on and he goes to the next one. Then it said, if I have the gift of prophecy, I can fathom all mysteries. And I'm just tired of when I look on TV, everybody won't be a prophet. Everybody won't be a prophet. If Pastor did let me rename myself instead of associate pastor, I might be prophet pastor. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. Pastor Dave probably was finna go pull it out, cut his mic off. Okay. So Paul had to deal with that. They was trying to say, look how much I have the gift of prophecy. I can fathom all knowledge. And if I had the faith to move a mountain, but not love, I am nothing. That's still not nothing. Paul said that's still, you still don't have it. You can be as spiritual as you want to be, but if you can't have love, it's nothing. Now this is the one that gets me. The last one he says, if I give all my possessions to the poor, and surrender my body in the flames, but have not love, I gain nothing. So now, I got to stop you guys. I got to stop. Now, y'all can't get super spiritual. Now, he done just gave all this stuff to the poor. And he done surrendered his body to the flames. So what that telling me, he got burn marks all over him. And if he have nothing, if he doesn't have love, he gained nothing. He did all that for nothing. So just imagine living your life, giving up everything. You gave all you had to the poor. You know, sit in prisons, mess around with the Bible, say, I ain't giving up, and get to heaven. And God said, the whole time you was doing all that, you had love. It was for nothing. Wow. Right. I'll be upset. I'm just saying that. I wouldn't be too mad if I'm God. I'll just say, I'll go off, but then I'm thinking, it's God. I ain't going off too long. See, she loved me. That's love right there. So, and then the Bible goes on to tell us what love is, to discover that love. So first we have to get some things out of the way. We have to get pride out.